Quinnipiac men's and women's ice hockey teams opened their seasons this weekend. Which players impressed? Quinnipiac rugby coach Becky Carlson is live in studio, and find out our winners and losers of the week. All that and more. Bobcat Breakdown starts now. Glad you could join us, and welcome in to Bobcat Breakdown. Alongside MJ Baird and Kyle Levasseur, I'm Tom Krasnowski. Gentlemen, how are we doing tonight?
Tom, happy to be here. Another good night of Bobcat Breakdown.
Yeah, it was a great weekend. MJ and I both went up to Boston College for the men's ice hockey game. I got to see a little ACC football between Boston College and Virginia Tech. Sports-filled weekend.
All right, let's lead off with the men's hockey team. The Bobcats opened their season this weekend, tying Boston College and losing to Boston University in overtime. Guys, was this weekend a success for the team?
Kyle?
Yeah, I'll go first. And I think despite them not getting a win, it was absolutely a success to the team.
Are you kidding me?
And let's look, MJ, at, if you don't believe me, I'm sure you're going to believe the all-time winningest hockey coach in the NCAA, Jerry York. Because after the game against Boston College, he said, and let me quote him, and this is from your article, MJ, so let me quote him to get exactly right. Jerry York, over 1,000 wins. I think Quinnipiac is going to be more of a staple in our non-conference schedule. I envision that as one of our non-conference rivalry type games, which is pretty phenomenal. Quinnipiac has quickly become a real player on the national scene. So if you have the all-time winningest coach saying that about a pretty new program as far as the Division I college hockey landscape is concerned, yeah, I mean, I think it is a success when they go out, tie Boston College, a top 15 team in the country. They lose to Boston University in overtime, a game that if the puck kind of bounces a different way, they absolutely could have beaten them. And you know what? You also see from this weekend that they found two reliable goalies. You can really trust Andrew Shortridge or Keith Petruzzelli to win either game for you. We'll talk about which one actually had the better weekend later on. And then there were a couple goal scorers that I saw this weekend. They might have only scored 3 goals on the weekend, but Alex Whalen seems to be a natural goal scorer, finding 2 on the weekend. Bo Pieper, he was tied for the team leading goals last season. He also netted 1 this weekend. And then, you know, we talked about in the neutral zone, I saw Nick Germain. He hit a post. I think he can also really elevate his game going into his sophomore year. The only thing I think they're really going to have to focus on before ECAC play starts is their face-offs, because when they faced St. Mary's, Rand Pecknell said it was the worst face-off game that he's seen Quinnipiac play in the last 15 years. And they've gotten a little bit better. They did pretty decent against BU. I think it'll still be a work in progress. But I think you have to say that this was a successful weekend.
So 3 things. They hit a post. They could have won in overtime.
They should have won in overtime.
You said could, just saying. You said could. And they found 2 goaltenders that can play. Cool. What's their record?
They're 0-1-1.
They're 0-1-1. 0 wins.
In non-conference.
0 wins.
In non-conference.
Yes. So being successful for the Quinnipiac men's ice hockey team, who has been to 5 NCAA tournaments in a row before last year when they missed it, is winning games. They've won 20 games in a row.
Okay,
for how many
but
seasons?
they're facing Boston College and Boston University, who have won several national championships. And when you're a program that hasn't even won a national championship, yeah, you got to say that is a moral victory to go into overtime against both these teams.
I wish we had the clip queued up because I'm sorry I didn't come prepared with the exact quote. But after the game on Sunday, Kyle, you were in the press conference. What did Rand Pecknell say?
Rand Pecknell said he does not take moral victories.
I do not take moral victories.
Maybe I do. I mean, I don't have to agree with everything Rand Pecknell says. But I take some moral victories, especially in a weekend
where... Not in a game where you don't win. You blow a 1-goal lead in the third period of both games. Okay? You're up 1-0 going into both games, or you're up by 1 goal going into both games third period, and you didn't win.
MJ, they've had about 5 practices going into this weekend.
Oh my goodness, you sound like the press conference.
Yeah. Am I wrong?
You're not wrong.
You're still figuring things out.
That's a fact, right?
You are still figuring things out. It is the beginning of October, and they played excellent against 2 excellent teams in the country.
But they expect to win those games. What did Keith Petruzzelli say after Sunday's game? That's not the result we're looking for. They don't want to lose in overtime.
Well,
they don't want to
He also said that he was happy with how his first College JB went.
Him,
I'm sure he's going to build off of it, and eventually those will turn into wins.
If he can become a goaltender that Quinnipiac can rely on, I would absolutely love that. But I'm talking about the team. This was not a successful weekend. They didn't win a game.
So what do they need to do better?
Speaking of the goalies, guys, after starting one game each, which goalie was more impressive to you guys? The returning Andrew Shortridge or Keith Petruzzelli, the freshman?
I'll start with this one, Kyle.
Sure, MJ.
I think the more impressive goalie was Keith Petruzzelli. Now, this is going to be hard to defend because they lost this game. I understand that. However, they played the number 2 team in the nation, right? Boston University. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, asking you a question.
Yes.
They played the number 2 team in the nation. He came into this game, I'm sure the kid's nervous. It's his first collegiate game against the team that's ranked number 2. So, yes, it was the better team of the weekend, so that can't be easy to say, okay, you're making your first collegiate regular season start in this game. He made 31 saves. Quinnipiac got outshot all game long. So not only did he have to keep Quinnipiac in this game, 12 draft picks on the Boston University Terriers team, all 7 defensemen, of course only 6 dressed, were drafted. They have lines, Kyle, that are NHL talent a year removed.
And is Keith Petruzzelli not?
No, I didn't say he wasn't.
So why are you bringing up that BU is laden with NHL draft picks when
because he's the Quinnipiac goaltender who these people are shooting on, and he made the saves.
Petruzzelli is the highest NHL draft pick Quinnipiac's ever had.
Correct.
So you
Second
can't,
highest.
Yeah. So if he's projected to be that high, you can't say, oh well, he's just going up against other NHL draft picks.
I said he was the more impressive because he played well against those players.
So what did you see out of him?
What did I see out of him?
That was more impressive than Andrew Shortridge.
Do you want to make your Shortridge point first?
You go ahead.
Okay.
I want to listen.
So
I don't want to interrupt.
I think Shortridge played fantastic against a fantastic team. I'm not going to take that away from him. I think he played good in overtime in a tie game, 1-1. But what I saw from Petruzzelli was a freshman, first year, being able to come in and play for, 20, 40, 60, 65 minutes, or 64 minutes and 20 seconds. They scored with 41 seconds in overtime in that game, and be able to keep Boston University at bay that well. That's what struck out to me.
So this is what I saw from Andrew Shortridge. I saw him give up 1 goal that wasn't his fault on the power play.
Yep.
And it came down to Jerry York calling a timeout before the goal, drawing up an excellent power play that they executed perfectly. And that was the difference in him having a shutout against Boston College, the number 13 team in the country, and then allowing 1 goal and tying him in overtime. And he, like Petruzzelli, also played 65 minutes. So I don't know if I can say that because Petruzzelli also went to overtime, that makes him the better goalie.
Yep.
But when you want to look at the stats also, better save percentage, better goals against, obviously. And I just think he was a lot tougher to score against. He made a big save on the penalty kill to keep them ahead in the game. So I got to give the opening weekend to Shortridge.
1 second before we move on, Tom. Wouldn't you, though, if you were Rand Pecknold, play your more confident goalie against a better team? Or not necessarily?
I think he's still figuring it out because he hasn't even seen Petruzzelli. And he said after the BU game that it was a game where they found out a good evaluation on Petruzzelli.
Speaking of that BU game, let's look back on it now. Q30's own Mike Riley and Jonathan Banks took it to the touchscreen to break down some key plays. Let's take a look.
Thanks, guys. Alongside men's ice hockey beat reporter Jonathan Banks, I'm Mike Riley, and right now we're going to analyze some key moments from the Sunday matinee matchup between the Boston University Terriers and the Quinnipiac Bobcats. John, what do you have for us on this first goal here?
Yeah, so first we're going to start it with about 6:11 left in the first period. As you can see here, Quinnipiac pinching here. BU tries to take a shot. Great block by Craig Martin out. Alex Whalen, who had 5 in his last 8 games, off to the races. Buries it past Jay Gottinger in the top left corner. Our grandma hides the cookies. Quinnipiac takes a 1-0 lead. So now we're going to slow it down here. As you can see here, BU gets ready to shoot. We'll stop it right there. Get the marker up. So you can see here Craig Martin on Quinnipiac. Excuse me, we're just going to get the marker going. Craig Martin here. He's doing a great job here of pinching the shot. So what he's going to do, he's going to block the shot, and the puck is just going to squirt forward here into this area. And if we play the clip, you're going to see the puck here. It's going to squirt forward. Whalen, the first to react, the first on the scene. He's a pure goal scorer, just streaks down that right-hand side and absolutely snipes it into the left-hand corner. Quinnipiac takes a 1-0 lead at this point in the game.
Yeah, Rand Pecknold had pretty high praise for Whalen after the game, saying how hard he worked to improve his game and improve his shot. And you see it right there. I mean, he comes off. That's a place where normally people don't score from, and that was an unreal shot. Beat him clean, no screen. Really great stuff. Now we're on to the second goal here, and this is Bo Pieper coming up.
Yeah, I mean, like we're going to show it again. Bo Pieper just takes his time and finds the left-hand corner. But, Mike, what I love about this play most, just a phenomenal hockey play. Pieper celebrates here. So now we're going to start here with Odie and Tufto. Right here is going to play a little pass behind his back to Landon Smith. And Landon Smith is going to look to exploit all this space on his own. But instead he does something a little different. So what's going to happen is Landon Smith is going to come here. He's going to draw the defenders. Now if we stop it right here, Smith drew all three of these defenders. All three BU defenders. Just going to erase this quickly. Smith draws all three of the BU defenders, and now what he does, Tufto starts the play, does a great thing, goes to the goal, Landon Smith goes to the goal, these three defenders are frozen, and now Bo Peeper, look at this, look at all the time and space he has. So literally all he has to do, pick his head up, he does have all day, just picks his head up. As you can see here, Peeper just finds the bottom corner of the net, past Jake Ottinger. Quinnipiac takes a 2-1 lead here.
And that's exactly what you want, especially a big momentum goal. They're tied at 1 with only a few minutes to go in the second period, and you just draw all the attention in, you draw attention, they can't see the puck, and it's an unreal shot by Bo Peeper to give the Bobcats the lead.
Looked like Mike Riley and intramural hockey there.
Now it's time for a quick break. Coming up, we'll have rugby head coach Becky Carlson live in studio, and of course, our final roars. Don't touch that dial. Bobcat Breakdown, we'll be right back.
Coming up on #that, we talk about some fun events around Quinnipiac's campus.
And we talk about some weird news that's been discussed around Twitter.
All that and more, we are your source for Quinnipiac's entertainment news.
Whether you're on the quad, in your room,
or heading to class,
tune in to Q30 News.
For stories by student journalists you can trust.
We are covering the latest here on campus and in surrounding areas.
Get the news you need to know every Wednesday night.
Hello, and tonight on Sandwich News, we will determine what makes a good sandwich and a bad sandwich. First, the standard sandwich. Uninspired, and frankly, a little gross. But we have here a Ray and Mike sandwich, the Cadillac of sandwiches. And if you want one, well,
come on down to Ray and Mike's at 3030 Whitney Ave, Hamden, Connecticut. Open every day from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. QCash is accepted.
now that's a sandwich.
Back to Bobcat Breakdown. Time to switch gears and focus on Quinnipiac rugby. Our own Naomi Gray is standing by with head coach Becky Carlson. Naomi?
We have a certain time limit.
Thank you so much for being here with us tonight, Coach. Back-to-back national championships, ranked #2 in the NIRA coaches poll a couple days ago. Coach, what is the secret behind keeping this team so consistent?
I don't know that it's a secret as much as we just take every single season as it comes. We take it game by game. We're not really the team that's been looking at it as, you hear a lot of people say the back-to-back or the three-peat, and we just look at it as every game as it comes.
The rugby program has definitely set the bar for sports at Quinnipiac and was recently referred to as a powerhouse in the NIRA. Do you believe there's any added pressure maintaining that title?
Absolutely. I think whenever you set a tone like that it's a lot harder sometimes, and it's a bigger challenge to feel like you're trying to keep it rather than to get there, because it felt like, boom, we got there, and then we've done what we've done 2 times in a row. So yeah, there's extra added pressure.
Last Saturday, your team fell to Central Washington in a rematch of last year's national championship game.
Yes.
As a coach of such a dominant program, how important do you feel is the element of defeat in a team's road to success?
I think, and we were kind of talking about this earlier, that the role of defeat and the failure during that season teaches you more than a win ever could. And we've taken away so much from the loss against Central Washington that it's only going to make us better. Like the whole idea of losing during the season, it really counts when you get to the playoffs.
So we're just a month away from the NIRA tournament. It's going to be held here at Quinnipiac.
Yes.
How great of an opportunity is it for you to be hosting it this season?
I think it's fantastic. It's one of the things that they wanted to play in front of a home crowd, and they've gotten that chance to do that this year. But to be able to do it at a higher level and to actually have the ability to be able to host, I think is phenomenal, and they're very excited.
Now moving on to your players, Leslie Marachich is the program's all-time leading tackler.
Yes.
As a coach, how rewarding is it for you to see your players make these strides in their career?
Jessica came from Eastern Illinois, which is my alma mater, and the very first year she had 92 tackles in one season. So she's well on her way to being a huge record breaker. She already is, but she's going to add to that with 5 more games left in the season. So she's just been phenomenal for us. She's a hard hitter, and it means everything to us to see not only a senior leave, but to also have a record under their belt. It's huge.
Best of luck to you this year, Coach. So great having you tonight.
Thank you very much.
Back to you guys.
Thanks, Naomi. In your opinion, Kyle, are the Bobcats still the national title favorites?
You know what, Tom? I still think they are. And it comes down to, in the end, having a great coach and the best player in the country in Ilona Maher. And I look at it almost as the New England Patriots, where you have Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, and how that duo is really built for the playoffs and built to win championships. And I think Ilona Maher and Becky Carlson are pretty similar. The two teams above Quinnipiac right now in the NIRA standings are Central Washington and Dartmouth, 2 teams that they did lose against. I still think the Dartmouth loss was a fluke, and when I look at Dartmouth's schedule, they have a lot of time off before the playoffs, and they just don't have the strength of schedule that Quinnipiac has. Quinnipiac will play Central Washington 2 times by the time this regular season is over. They'll have played Army, Norwich, Dartmouth. I mean, plenty of excellent teams. I don't think Dartmouth is playing teams at that level. And then Central Washington they're still 2-2 on the year. They lost to Life University, a program that Quinnipiac usually dominates. And I think this team is just built for the playoffs. They have a couple players heating up. Flora Poole had an excellent 100-yard run in the last match. They just need a couple of the players that have been a little inconsistent this year. Players like Mika Maples, who had 3 tries in the regular season opener. They need players like Layla Scott, who had 3 tries against Norwich, to just be a little more consistent and then pick it up come playoff time.
Yeah, Kyle, I kind of echo everything you said, but I have 2 different reasons for that. Why are they still the national championship favorites? Don't forget they're hosting the tournament.
It's a very good point.
They're going to be right here in Hamden. I don't care if they're the 3, 4, 5, 8 seed.
I can't remember the last time they lost at home.
I think they can win that, and it's going to just help that they're here at home. And the second thing is, I'm just going to relate this to basketball for a moment. Look back at the Golden State Warriors. It was 2015-16 where they set 73 wins, set the record, whatever. The next year they only had 67 wins. Doesn't mean they weren't the favorite to win. Quinnipiac can lose 2 games. I don't care if they lose another one. They're still the favorite to win.
All right, let's take a look at the women's soccer team now. They have just 1 win in their last 4 games. MJ, is the number 2 seed in the MAC still a possibility at this point?
I definitely think it's still a possibility. The question is it a lock for this team? Do I think that they're going to get it? No. Bottom line, do I think they'll be the number 1 seed? But do I think, can they get it? Yes. I just looked at their schedule. If they go 4-0 the rest of the way, they'd be 7-1-2. And that is a win over Manhattan, who's ahead of them. So if you look at Manhattan's schedule, they would then be 7-3. And the head-to-head tiebreaker is going to be that first one if it came to a tiebreaker. And Quinnipiac would own it over Manhattan, again, assuming Monmouth is number 1. So Quinnipiac could theoretically get that number 1 seed. I just don't see it happening, and I certainly don't think it's a lock for this team by any means.
Yeah, I don't think it's a lock either. I think the number 1 seed is a lock for Monmouth. There's a lot of teams on the bubble, though, for the number 2 seed. And I was also looking at their schedule. That Manhattan game is a must-win for Quinnipiac, because if they beat them, the only teams ahead of Quinnipiac right now are Monmouth, who, like I said, will be the number 1 seed, and Siena and Manhattan. They already have the tiebreaker against Siena in that overtime win where Nadia Gill had the game-winning goal. If they beat Manhattan, they can still tie them as far as record-wise, and they have the tiebreaker above both those teams, which would give them the number 2 seed. And then you look at the rest of their schedule. They play Iona, who is 0-5-1 in the MAC so far. That'll be a win. They play Niagara, and they play Canisius. Those 3 teams are 3 of the bottom 4 teams in the MAC. So I think they have the easiest schedule come the rest of the regular season. And if they get those tiebreakers, I think they will get the number 2 seed. Definitely not a lock, but a good chance.
Okay, guys, let's have a little bit of fun here. We all know women's soccer coach Dave Clark loves to use Twitter to convey his emotions. Fellas, give me one tweet each about the women's soccer team in the style of Dave Clark. MJ, let's start with you.
All right, so I didn't check this for 160 characters, but soccer games last 90 minutes, not 75, not 80, not 85, 90 minutes. Have to play at pace for every single one. Good teams will make you pay. And Kyle, what does this tweet mean, you ask? Well, it's very easy. Both at Marist and versus Ryder, Quinnipiac gave up the tying goal. They were winning 1-0. They gave up the tying goal in the final 5 minutes of the game. So starting with the somewhere between 85th minute and 90th minute, they gave up that tying goal. They didn't lose the games. They went on to tie in overtime, but you got to play 90 minutes. And if Quinnipiac had those 2 wins right now, going back to the last question, this would be a lock.
Different season.
Exactly.
Yeah, you have to be able to finish games. As for my tweet, I'm taking a little bit of a different approach. It has to do with defending your home field. My tweet was, need to defend our new field better. Undefeated last year at home, not at that level this year. Hashtag frustrating. Quinnipiac was 9-0-0 last year. It was almost impossible to win against the Bobcats if you were coming to Hamden. And now they have this new, beautiful stadium. I'm sure it's going to do wonders with recruiting. They just have to simply play better here in Hamden. And you see them on the road. We were both at last year's MAC championship game at Monmouth. It really pays a big difference when you're playing the playoff games at your own field. The Monmouth crowd was really into it, and once the Hawks got ahead, they just never looked back.
Sure.
Great stuff, guys. It's time for another brief commercial break. Afterwards, we'll look at our winners and losers of the weekend, as well as our final roars. Don't go away. Bobcat Breakdown, we'll be right back.
Hello, and tonight on Sandwich News, we will determine what makes a good sandwich and a bad sandwich. First, the standard sandwich. Uninspired, and frankly, a little gross. But we have here a Ray and Mike sandwich, the Cadillac of sandwiches. And if you want one, well,
come on down to Ray and Mike's at 3030 Whitney Ave, Hamden, Connecticut. Open every day from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. QCash is accepted.
now that's a sandwich.
Good morning and welcome to the Morning After.
Coming up on #that, we talk about some fun events around Quinnipiac's campus.
And we talk about some weird news that's been discussed around Twitter.
All that and more, we are your source for Quinnipiac's entertainment news.
Welcome back again inside Bobcat Breakdown. It's time for a game of the week. This time around, we're focusing on Wednesday's men's soccer match against Iona. MJ, what are we looking for in this contest?
Well, really, this is going to be a good game, I think, but I'm just taking Quinnipiac because they're the home team in this one, and that's why I have the Bobcats.
Yeah, I'm going to have to take Iona in this one, MJ, actually. I think it comes down to Eamon Whalen. He sat out in the last game against Canisius. He didn't record a shot against Ryder, and we all know just how important he is to this team, being the MAC Rookie of the Year last year. He doesn't have any points on the season yet. He missed a couple games, and they were facing some really high-end competition, but if he ends up playing and ends up having a good game, I think Quinnipiac has a chance. But Iona is coming off an overtime win against Marist. They're tied with Quinnipiac in the MAC right now. I think this is a must-win for Iona, and I think they know that.
Well, it should be a fun game to watch for sure. Now, it's time for our winners and losers of the weekend. After such a busy weekend, guys, who stands out to you as having gained or lost the most?
Yeah, I'll start first. My winner is from the women's volleyball team, Natalie Aleko. The sophomore, has led the team in kills in each match since Jen Coffey, Kat Miller, and Elizabeth Kloos have not been playing. She had a career-high 25 kills versus Canisius, just having a great 6-game stretch so far. Watch for Natalie Aleko come the rest of the regular season.
My winner this week, it's the field hockey team as a whole. They finally broke their losing skid. They lost to UCal, Villanova, Bucknell, and Providence. They won a 4-game skid there, and you really have to think the Quinnipiac field hockey team was at an all-time low confidence-wise, but they get that back with a nice win. Second half comeback was huge, 3 goals in the final 40 minutes. That should definitely spark Lauren Belsky and the Quinnipiac offense. As for losers, I think I'll go first.
Sounds good.
All right, so my loser for this week is, it's not really a loser person per se. It's the team, it's the Quinnipiac volleyball team, and not losers in that they've lost their games. It's tough that they're facing injuries right now, and that's what I'm trying to stress. It's the injuries that is what I'm picking here. Jen Coffey, Elizabeth Kloos, and Kat Miller. The team's 1-3 since Coffey went down, and the others have just gone down since then. The only win the Bobcats had was in 5 sets. It was in overtime in the 5th set as well, 20-18. So Quinnipiac really needs to get those players back so they can be powerful moving forward.
Right, and as for my loser, MJ, I was thinking about all the different teams on campus, and we talked about men's ice hockey and how I consider that a success, having Jerry York give mad props to Quinnipiac after this weekend. And I was thinking about it, but I think the real loser has got to be myself this weekend. I predicted that the Quinnipiac rugby team would go undefeated the rest of regular season play, and they end up losing against Central Washington. So my prediction was wrong.
That's tough.
I still think that they are the favorites for the national championship.
Agreed.
But I got to give myself a little wrongdoing for that.
I got you on that one, Kyle.
Yeah. So.
All right, it remains to be seen if these trends will continue. All right, guys, it's time for the moment we've all been waiting for. Our final roars. MJ, the floor is all yours.
Quinnipiac men's ice hockey has 2 games under its belt. The team also has started 2 different goaltenders. That seems all good, right? Well, Andrew Shortridge and Keith Petruzzelli have each played 1 game. Forget how each player did this weekend and think about the long term. Look at it this way. A platoon of goaltenders does not benefit this team. 2012-2013 season. Eric Hartzell plays 42 games for the Bobcats. Quinnipiac loses to Yale in the national championship. The next 2 seasons, Michael Gartig is Quinnipiac's every night starter, and the Bobcats make the NCAA tournament both years. 2015-2016, Gartig plays 43 games. Quinnipiac loses to North Dakota in the national championship. Last season, Chris Truel and Andrew Shortridge split time, 20-plus games each. Quinnipiac was eliminated in the ECAC semifinals and missed the NCAA tournament. Well, if you haven't seen the pattern, Quinnipiac plays its best hockey in front of a stable starting netminder. I believe it's safe to say the Bobcats will roll the duo of both Shortridge and Petruzzelli moving forward, but this could be bad news for the Bobcats. The numbers don't lie. If one of these 2 isn't happy with his playing time, well, either can play goalie at virtually any other NCAA Division I school. With them being only 1 academic class apart, someone has to make a decision. Don't be surprised if both don't last their full 4 years in Hamden.
Great point, MJ. Couldn't agree more. Sticking with Quinnipiac men's ice hockey, one Bobcat just tallied his 60th career assist, and his name is Landon Smith. This past Sunday, Smith joined his past line mates Sam Annis and Travis St. Dennis as the 29th member of the Bobcats' 60 Assist Club. While Smith did lead Quinnipiac in points last season, he tends to get overlooked. The senior was not on either the coaches or media preseason All-ECAC poll. Sure, having played on the same line as Annis and St. Dennis can cast a shadow, but Smith entered this season as 2nd in the nation in career points with 97. Smith will be crucial to the Bobcats' success as this year he leads the nation. He's 2nd in the nation with career game-winning goals and 1st in games played. Keep an eye out for number 16 this year.
So far, we've discussed just about every other sport except field hockey, and really, we should be talking about them. After a huge upset win over Liberty that seemed to be a spark for the team, the Bobcats lost their next 4 games and fell out of the playoff picture in the crowded Big East. But last Sunday, on Senior Day, the squad showed one thing that cannot be seen in the stats: heart. Down 2-0 against a winless Siena Saints team with 20 minutes to go, the team fought back and played arguably its best stretch of hockey this season. Tied for a Big East playoff spot with Old Dominion, Quinnipiac's next opponent? That's right. It's those very same Old Dominion Monarchs on Friday. It should be a must-watch game as these two rivals fight for a spot in the Big East tournament. All right, that'll do it for this week's episode of Bobcat Breakdown. Thanks for joining us. Our next show is next Tuesday at 9:30. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at QBSN and at Q30 Sports, and visit our website at theqbsn.com and q30tv.com. For MJ Baird and Kyle Lavasser, I'm Tom Krasnowski. We'll see you next time.